Lovelies. Just wait to see if anyone's there before I start yassering on. So wait for a few people to join in if anyone wants to join in. And then we'll get started. I've got some interesting news to talk about. It's been lots to talk about, hasn't it, on YouTube and other places. So I'll put the... Do you know what this... I'll have to get something done with this monitor. I can't see because it's not bright. The chat, I have to really look at it. But yeah, I've got a few things to talk about which will be interesting. Because all sorts. Good evening, Mark. Sorry about this. I'm being desperate because I can't know the... What's happened to my mouse? Can't find my mouse. I don't know what I've done. I've clicked on something. Oh, what have I done? About comments. Got them back. Good evening, Mark. An evening live follower. Yeah, I'll have to... No, I'm one of these people that's terrified of technology, and I have to get used to it. I'll have to work out how to use it because I want to put videos up and things eventually and banners, but I'm terrified that I'll cut the live off. Strange name to have, isn't it? Very strange name. Good evening, Crystal Alice. Nice to see you back again. Lovely to see you back in the watching me again. But now, what am I going to start with? I want to start off with something. I'll say anyone wants to join in, please do, or give any suggestions what I should be talking about. Yeah, Karen. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. And Annette. Oh, that's a lovely name, isn't it? Annette. Lovely name. You says, Bo. Sarah. I keep on going to call you Sharon. Sarah, isn't it? Are you Louise? So anyway, what to start off with? A few things I want to talk about. An update on this Ronan debacle. Hopefully some progress has been made. I noticed some really... Well, someone told me, they said, you've got to look at the comments on a video, under the video we did about you, that people were given. They said they're very, very offensive. So I went and looked, and really it's just out and out hate speech that was on there. But I contacted them and told them, get it off there. Like a cease and desist, you've got to... Because you're responsible for your for what comments are put on your channel. You're responsible for them. So to give him his due, he said he'll remove them. I haven't looked yet, but hopefully he'll have removed the offensive comments. So he's agreed to do that. So that's one good thing. It didn't have to be a big, long, drawn-out argument about it. So I'll give him his due if he does that. Good on him for doing that, because that's what I want to point out to anyone that's got a YouTube channel. And not many people know this. Always check your comments, because I know Ronan was saying he wasn't looking at his comments because he was getting some nasty ones he didn't want to read, which is understandable. But if there's anything really offensive on there, that's your channel. So you can be held responsible for it. It's like a lot of workplaces now. If you are working, let's say for the police or an official organisation or government or anything like that, and you walk away from your workstation, your computer, without locking it, and when you're away, someone gets on and starts sending offensive material out there, you're responsible, because it's your workstation. You're responsible for keeping your workstation safe, so no one can just jump on and start doing it. And it used to be a pain. You'd have to lock especially in the police, you'd have to lock your workstation because you'd be called out somewhere. So you had to keep on locking it. But the message came home once. Oh God, at Admiral Street. This was terrible. One of the officers had been working on this station on his computer, getting up to date on this paperwork, and he walked away. Was called out to a job, that was it. Anyway, suddenly there was this big commotion. All these offensive emails had been sent out to different people in the police force from his computer, and they were blaming him. Big investigation. Anyway, they found out who it was. It was another officer that had taken up with his ex-wife, and he tried to get him the sack by doing that. Now, wouldn't you think that the officer that did that jumped on the computer would have got the sack? No, he didn't. He didn't. Because it was the bleeding other fellow's responsibility to make sure he'd locked his computer. But the other fellow didn't get the sack, thank God. Let's see, just read some of this. Hi, Paris. Hi, Sherwood. Let's see, just seen one. Oh, where's it gone? Where's it gone? Sorry about this. Got a frog in my throat. Next time I'm passing by Wales. What's that about? I don't live in Wales. Oh, I'm sort of getting half the conversation, aren't I? Oh, I don't wear pails. Now, oh, wait a second. Do you know, sorry about this. Coughing. Where's the mouse? Here we are. Half term will pass through Liverpool. We'll drop you some nice pails, as I know you will wear and appreciate. I don't wear pails. Anything that an animal's died for, I won't wear. So, but I don't. But you know, instead of pearls, I always say, you know, I do like 14 karat gold. I find 14 karat gold just goes with my complexion. I do really do, darlings. Yes, I'm well into 14 karat gold. God, I'm dreaming, aren't I? Let's see. Here comes. But yet, always remember that you're responsible for the comments on your channel, so always look at them, because if I've told them to get rid of a certain person, and I'm going to say his name, Nick Williams. He's a horrible, disgusting, vile. I don't know what's in his head, but he's going round now. Suddenly, I've become a danger to children. And honest to God, he usually the people that say that are the ones that usually are dangerous. Anyway, and got some nice vintage ones with. Oh, actually, I mean, if they're old now, I mean, if these thingos, if these oysters died a long time ago, I mean, of course, there wouldn't be any harm, especially if it's got golden topaz in it as well. Oh, well, you know. Oh, how lovely. A 14 karat gold brooch. Oh. No, funny enough, I was looking at 14 karat gold chains. My God, the price of them now. Terrific. No, says, but you see, if you go on to my comments, my community page, just see, that's a tiny bit of what he says about me, and that's not the most offensive. If you go on to Ronan's, if he said he's taking them down, I don't know, you'll see him calling me. It's all hate speech. It's all danger to children, but he calls me a predator and all this. He's a horrible thing. And this was all for no other reason than I fell out with Brian Harvey, and Brian Harvey fell out with me, and he turned on me like that, and he's been absolutely a nightmare. Check him out if you want to see it. If you're on my Facebook, go to my Facebook, Andrew Guine, and you'll see what Nick's like. He's disgusting, and he really needs. And I told Ronan, you want to get rid of him because he'll bring trouble. He'll get his channel taken down with the comments if he carries on. He will. And did you ever watch James English and Wedge? Do you think he was Wedge? No, James English. I can tell you, doesn't think he's sweating. genuine either. That's what I liked about James English. James English twigged after the interview that there was something not right, because John Wedge was hounding and hounding. Well, I don't know about hound, but he was saying to James, you better put on Wilfred Wong. You have to put on Wilfred Wong. It's essential you put on Wilfred Wong, the one that did the kidnapping. Anyway, says, well, green pick. Yeah, it's like a green, you don't see a face or anything. It's horrible. I can show you all the evidence of it, the things he says about me, horrendous things. Anyway, so give James English his due. He's got a bigger brain than Sean Atwood ever has. He spotted there was something not genuine about him. So good on him for doing that. Thumbs up to James that he wouldn't go down that line, because I mean, you don't want to do that. Too many of these podcasters, right? They think, which they do, and you can't blame them in a way. They want to build their channel up, so they get the most interesting people going, and half the time they think it's the most controversial one will get them the views. But they're doing a disservice. And then you'll find that they get labelled by intelligent people out there that are out to stop these frauds being broadcast, will let them know it, and then they're all upset. But this is what gets me, Randall, right? I can't work this out with John Wedge, especially Jeanette Archer. Blimey, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much looking into them, doing a little bit of research, and you think this is a con. Because her story has changed that dramatically. You're not talking about it just changes a little bit. It changes dramatically. Now, how come someone with more than one brain cell in the head that can put a bit of a charge between the two of them can't work out, wait a minute, if her story's changing that dramatically? She contradicts herself all the time. She's lying. But beyond me, I think some people are just that desperate to believe it that they'll believe anything. No, Mrs. O, you're not blocked. No, I wouldn't block you. You're always lovely to me. No, I wouldn't block you, darling. Let's see. I'm just looking at some. Yeah, get your sympathy, and then, but I can't work out. I mean, good God, these people. It's like, what would you rather have? Would you rather have the horrible truth that's not very nice, or that you don't want? Let's put it this way: would you rather have that, or just live in a lie? I can't see why people want to live in a lie. So it's odd, but you just have to let them get on with it. You can't control them. But I think the police will be especially Will Archer, will be taking a lot more action with her, because she's going beyond it. I mean, she is talking like a domestic terrorist. Yeah, one's in jail. I can't remember how much. Is it 19 years, something like that? He's doing for kidnap. So it's but it's just shocking how people won't even question it and say, well, let's put two and two together and see if it makes up. I mean, if I came on here, right, and saying that in the police, right, I was bullied by police officers, then 6 months down the line, I turn around and tell you that they were green lizards from outer space, wouldn't you think Anne's taking us for idiots here? You didn't mention that 6 months ago, Anne. Why didn't you say that they were green lizards and not police officers that are attacking you? That's exactly what Jeanette Archer's done. She said her abusers were normal people, ordinary people. Then suddenly, when she starts getting attention, it changes to they were lizards from lizards from outer space or whatever nonsense that is. So, and it's like, can't you see this as a... Ine used to have them up. I don't know where Ine's gone. I used Ine E with space then NAIR had amazing videos, and just before said I could have them, but just before I could get them, they closed their account down, or something happened to their account. I can't find them, but they had amazing ones where they actually showed clips of what she was saying a year ago and had them with what she's saying now, and the contrast is amazing, yet people still believe it. So it's absolutely very, very strange. But yet it's all sorts going on YouTube, isn't it? So, of course, Darren G's back still being himself, but Carl McCorner seemed to have worked out what's going on here. It looks like Darren G closed his account down because he got that many strikes against him. They took his monetization away. Now, if you are monetized as a channel, and this happened to me ages ago, I was monetized, and because I put a couple of films up, they demonetized me. Now they say, oh, it will take a few weeks. It doesn't. It took about 8 months. It takes a long time to get it back when it goes off. They say a few weeks, doesn't it? It takes months and months. So it looks like he closed down his channel because he's not monetized. And now what he's doing is he's going to, I hope I've put the right one through there. He's starts up this new channel so he can start making money again. But he's the same. I mean, the things he's saying about Emma Cockrell, absolutely disgusting they are. I mean, no one talk a woman. It's bad enough when a woman talks to another woman like that, but when a man talks about a woman like that, you don't pick on a woman's looks like that. It's cruel. It's just not on. But again, that's Love and Kate and Darren, who's trying to lead the youth into better ways. Sure he is. But it looks like Carl McCorner worked that one out, what was going on there. And what else has been happening on YouTube, of course, has been I heard that about Uncle K. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's all kicking off between Uncle K and the real Danny G. But the shame about, I'll tell you one thing. The shame about the real Danny G, now the real Danny G, not Darren G, let's just get that straight, is he wants to change his ways. He wants to be a different person. He wants to get control of his anger, but he's struggling with it. And he needs to get professional help with it. And things like that are just inflaming him more and more. What he wants to do is just cut off and say, sod it, I'm not responding to it. I'm not responding, because he does seem to want to get there. And as they say, God loves a trier. If he can get there, let him get there. But, and, you know, it's just getting silly. I don't know what Uncle K's game is. I haven't looked into it too much, but this going around, you know, threatening fights and all that, I don't know what's proven. I don't know what's proven. What does it prove that someone's stronger than what someone else is or can beat them up? Does that prove anything? Not in my mind, it doesn't. Oh, yeah, Alex Belfield. Actually, apparently it's not 90 days. He got it wrong. It's only a fortnight or something I saw today. But it's Alex Belfield will be taken down eventually. He knows that. He said that. But he does this bravado thing, you know, he doesn't mind. But he will mind when he's taken down, because he's making a hell of a lot of money. He's making a hell of a lot of money out of YouTube. A hell of a lot. So he'll feel it if it suddenly goes. But see, the annoying thing about him, his message half the time gets lost in the delivery. He can come out with some interesting things and logical things, but he dresses up with all this hate speech, thinking somehow if he uses this horrible terminology, that somehow that makes him more cool. No, it doesn't. I'm sure he could say the same thing and he'd have the same followers if he just stuck to calling. If he wants to call out the woke situation, yeah, you can call out people being woke. You can call out whatever you want. But don't lose the message in the delivery by actually using offensive terminology. Just say, well, you know, it's ridiculous the way it's going, and this is ridiculous, and that's ridiculous. But he doesn't. He goes into like this horrendous 1970s comedy act, which, you know, is well out of style now. Oh, thank you, Goldilocks. Oh, I see. Wait a minute. 90 days live and 2 weeks. No, oh, I get you. So that's the difference. 2 weeks normal. So we can start putting. his videos up, pre-records, but he can't do a live for 90 days. But if he loses, which he will, he knows that he said one day he's going to lose his channel. He knows he is. He'll feel it because it's a big income that he makes, and you can't get that income anywhere else on social media. Well, this is it. That used to be actually, if you said person of color in the, that's an American term that we've adopted. But if you said that in the 80s or 90s, you'd be shut down for being a racist. You couldn't say that word. You couldn't say that. See, it changes that much. You don't know what is the trendy term. And that's why I always say there's a difference between someone being out and out bigoted and racist or homophobic or whatever and out to offend, and someone that genuinely doesn't know what the right term is. And if someone doesn't know what the right term is, you've got to give them the leeway. You can't hammer them for that, you know. And believe me, I know when someone's being out now. That's why, funny enough, when Ronan, he made that comment to the fake Ann, there's a fake Ann goes around Andrew Guy. And you usually see it for some reason, another podcaster's given him made him a mod. I don't know why, or hair a mod. It might be a woman, I don't know, but not nice to do things like that. But Ronan said something offensive to this fake Ann, thinking that was really me. Now, it's a throwaway remark, so I'm not going to like hold him and say, oh no, that's disgusting. You're not going to do that. You don't do that, because some people just, you know when someone's a bigot and you know when they're not. Let's just put it this way. You know the difference. You know when someone's really is a bigot and when someone either just blades something out, not thinking, or they don't understand the right terms. Let's see. Now, this Harvey Price thing, I don't, some of the things he says, they're a bit, you know, ooh, don't like it at all. Because he says some things that you think, yeah, that's right. You know, what is Casey Price actually up to? How are you, Wendy, sweetheart? Nice to have you watching. Lovely to have you watching. So, yeah, so there's all this kickoffs about this one's fight. And then, of course, there was the one with Sean Atwood, wasn't there? And Marvin Herbert, which bad move. Look, right. I have my issues. Everyone knows I have my issues with Sean Atwood. I feel a complete nutter idiot for what I did, thinking that he was right when he was saying that this Daddygate thing was all a mistake and he'd learned his lesson and all that. I took him that he did. He was having a strange time and you had to move on. Then I realised there's nothing changed at all there and nothing will change. But let's put it this way, and this is where I agree with Sean. There's a lot of things you can pull him up for, a lot of things, but there's a lot of lies that are also told about him. And when people are going around saying, like Marvin is, that he didn't do the prison time he did, that he didn't do this, he didn't do that, I'm sorry, it's out there on the official systems. Now, I've said before, unless Sean is some mastermind genius, and he wouldn't be doing a little podcast like he is now. If he was such a mastermind, he'd be a billionaire somewhere. That means he hacked into the system and put all this false information on there. The information's there. So if Marvin Herbert or Chancer or anyone is going around making up false news about and twisting it around, he's got the right to turn around and do defamation. And believe me, when you put in a defamation claim to YouTube, it does go to a lawyer, a solicitor, sorry, to look at, so they can decide whether you're right or wrong. So it won't be taken down unless there is defamation. So, and this is what you've got to be careful as well, because True Media did this to me. Took an interview I did with Sean and twisted it around, cut the conversation off so you didn't get the full story. Where if he played the full story through, you'd see it was a completely different thing. And you want to wonder why people would want to do that, because they're malicious. Just malicious content that they're coming out with. And I say it doesn't hurt me. I know the truth. It hurts them more. And if you just watch my interview with Sean Atwood, and you'll see what I said. The first interview I did with him, and you'll see what I said if you listen to the whole lot. Decaheg, I don't think there's much you can say about it. He's got strange, he's got some things on him, but there's no point going over it. Who are you talking to, Swinger? I'm getting loads of messages. You know, darling, I'm popular, darling. I'm getting all these messages. And this is what gets me about Marvin doing something like that. People think for some reason that Sean is some kind of wimp. Now, if you actually meet him, and I've said this before about him, if you actually meet him, you get a shock. One, he's very tall. And two, you can tell he works out. But because he's so tall, like with lots of tall people, it's all spread out. The muscle is spread out. So it doesn't look like, like you get someone like Billy Moore who's shorter. So the muscle is more out here. With Sean, it's more, you can tell, but you can tell he works out. So when people think they're going to go down there and smash his face in because he's a whimper, you know, he'll be able to look. I remember a saying one of my cousins used to say, they said, when he'd look at someone, he'd say, don't, if someone's got scars and a broken nose or something like that, he said, don't look for that. He said, if you want to see someone that can take care of themselves and you want to think twice about taking them on in a fight, he used to say, look for the ones that haven't got any scars. And that, I think, hasn't got a broken nose, hasn't got any scars. Usually that's the person that can protect themselves. So, you know, I always found that interesting. And during the 80s, I used to do all that gender bend and all that. Really, if you think my makeup now is strong, it used to be out here. And I'd be going around with mini skirts on and everything. When I think I look to sight, I haven't got the body for mini skirts, but I thought it was gorgeous in the 80s. But I never used to you get shouts and all that. And I remember the same cousin turned around to me and said, the reason he said is because you've got the nerve to go out there like that. He said, they're thinking, if this person go out dressed like this, mad, look on them. They must be able to handle themselves. Don't know what to say. Oh, I was just lucky. Just look at the comments here. If anyone wants to jump in, please do. So, yeah, but the thing is, he shouldn't. Marvin has just made a big mistake. And now anyone that knows, and I'm going to be honest with it, I don't like Marvin. I never have liked Marvin. One, I think he's one of, I don't know what he's like now because I haven't watched him for months, but he was one of the worst podcasters going. I mean, he was horrendous. He used to have that fella, didn't he, with him? And it was just, he was rubbish. It's sort of like ask the person a question, then he'd be talking, and he was all with his hand over his mouth, eating. And why people do this? And you know, and this trend suddenly now, I don't know what it is. Have you seen this trend? Hard boys are showing themselves now drinking coffee and slurping. What's that? Is that the new code for I'm a hard man? It's like, no, it doesn't look nice. It doesn't look nice slurping your coffee like that, or tea or whatever it is you've got. But used to do all that, Marvin. So I never raced him. And then remember he did that interview with Sean, the infamous interview with him. Now, and everyone was like, what the hell is this? It was just built up to be something it clearly wasn't. It was an absolute disaster. Now, I've also said about Marvin when he's going on, helping the kiddies and all this and helping the youth and all this business. The only reason he's done this, I'm convinced, is because if he went back into jail with his disability he's got now, he wouldn't last 5 minutes. Look, come on. He's going to take on someone with one eye and all the things he's got wrong with him. So this what seems to be, but now because Sean and Jones within his rights, as is Darren G is within his rights. If his material is being used, if Sean Atwood is being defamed, and it will go to a lawyer will decide it. Why the hell should Sean turn around and think, oh, I'll let Marvin Herbert get off with this, when Marvin Herbert is trying basically to destroy Sean, or was trying to destroy Sean? And just one thing, if Marvin Herbert hears this, or anyone hears this, please don't turn around and say you were the one that was exposing Sean Atwood. I think you'll find the person that's looking into this camera was the one that revealed Daddygate. Now other people are taking, and that's what happens. Other people started taking all the saying that they were doing it. They weren't. But all that's become this melee of lies and twisted truths, which, no one knows. That's why I stepped back from Daddygate. I thought this is getting ridiculous. It just became lie after lie after lie after lie, and everyone was getting dragged into it. You don't have to lie. It's bad enough as it is. You don't have to lie. And say one thing about Chance, the way he's whinging out the victim. Right. Sorry, he goes on about this poor autistic woman called Callie. Poor autistic Callie, right? Callie's autism must be on more or less on the same level as mine. Do I look like I could be controlled by anyone against me will? I don't think so. So that's why I said straight away, I said she's may have autism, but it's high functioning autism. She can look after herself. So she was an equal partner with Sean. But who's the one that was putting the Daddygate video out there where she's on her knees? This poor girl that he was called, poor autistic girl, like she was seriously autistic. Who was putting it out there? Chancellor was. He was the one that was putting it out there. No one else was, from what I can remember. So he was the one doing the abusing at the end of the day. So did anyone else? Billy Moore interviewed. Oh, Billy Moore interviewed Denise. She's not called Bulger anymore now, is she? Can't remember what her name is. Yeah, yeah, he did, didn't he? I haven't watched it. I haven't had time to watch it, but I know he did the interview. And I watched his trip with Joe, his brother, to Scotland, which is absolutely lovely. How could Dan G ever spoil that by saying he was, honestly, he loves his brother to bits. Oh, and that horrible scene where Joe starts crying, he starts panicking and starts crying. That was heart-wrenching. That. Are you, John? Oh, yeah. Martin Haas family in Liverpool. But what he's also done, he's marred his chances now by doing all that, making threats to go down and sort Sean out. What did I say about how Darren G had totally destroyed any chance of ever taking his message? When he's getting his message, 1 minute he's giving out this message, he's going to tell the youth and all this. Then a second later, he's threatening people with violence and all sorts. Once you go down the road of violence, hate speech, threats, anything, forget it, guys. You're not going to be successful. The schools won't use you. And this is what you've got to do if you want to make it into a business, right, to get your message out there. Because you have to, be realistic. They can't take the message out there for free. They've got to, because one, especially if they're on benefits, the benefits will be on some, well, if you're doing all this work on the side, going in schools, you can do a job. That's what will happen to them. But the schools won't touch you. The universities won't touch you. The police won't touch you. Councils won't touch you. And they're the people that have the funding to pay for things like that if you come out with hate speech or threats. So Marvin has just gone and really done something against himself by being angry like that. But Sean and Darren were within the rights to do what they did. No, no, why would you? Come on, how many people out there, be honest, would turn around and say, oh, well, this person who's giving me grief. Why would you let them get away with something like that? You wouldn't. You wouldn't, would you? And just to let people know, I haven't told you what this is. Oh, I haven't worn this for a few years, actually. This is me jade butterfly, the symbol of freedom, regeneration, change, and reincarnation. So that's me jade butterfly, which I love. Oh yeah, it was horrible when Joe was upset. It wasn't. What it was, for people who don't know, Billy Moore was with his brother Joe, and Billy. You don't see this happening, but he tells you this. He lost his wallet, couldn't find his wallet. Well, of course, Billy's panicking. He's in Scotland. How the hell does he get back to Liverpool if he hasn't got his wallet? So he couldn't find it. Well, it just cuts to Joe, and Joe's crying. He's taking a panic attack, getting an anxiety attack because of it. And it's just the saddest thing to see. But then you see him, don't you, Miss? So did you see the one this morning? Not the one yesterday, where they're at that catapult and Joe starts laughing, and it's a real belly laugh he comes out with. So it's lovely watching it. Is I think it's lovely to watch that. Now you see, that's what's showing the best side of people do on that. You know, not going around. One thing Billy refused to do is get involved in online scraps, which is good. Really good. So I admire him for doing that. Yeah. Molly Simpson. Oh, you've twigged something in my brain. Do you remember? Do you know what that name is? It's triggering way back, is it? Say, I'd remember that name. Sadie. Do you know what, Mally? There's something in there. I can't, but I'm trying to remember. But I do remember a Sadie character. I do. I do remember something about a Sadie character, but I can't get it into. I'd have to. It will most probably come to me later. Oh yeah, Lisa. DG is seen with jealousy. That's why he's doing what he's doing. Anybody can see he's all about himself. He didn't mind dealing with Sean when he was getting money off him. But yeah, that's it. And Sean's a mug for that's it. Darren will mug off anyone that's open to being mugged off. Look, right. Look, just to get, I don't know why people don't get this, and I keep on saying this, right? Let a reformed character prove themselves for a few years before people start bowing down to them, thinking that they're the answer to everyone's problems and the youth being sorted out. No. Look, right. There's people, these what I call thugs, a lot of them. They were thugs because they couldn't give a damn about people, and the only reason they're not thugs now and going around doing this because they don't want to go back inside. That's usually the reason. You get some that are genuine, that have changed around and are getting the life back in order. But we can see all this kicking off. It's just destroying everyone's chances of getting believed when they do change. I am Maltawisi. But yeah, so it's just going to backfire, and it's getting silly now because people get bored. I think people are getting bored of all this nonsense between them. I'm going to do you, and I'm going to do this person, and I'm going to smack. It's just getting bored. If it was in a past, if it was in a time machine, the past. I wouldn't go into the future because you don't know what the hell you're going to end up with, do you? But you have an idea about the past. I'd always said if it was to meet a historical character that I'd love to talk to, it would be Shakespeare, I'd say. I'd imagine that would be something fascinating if you could understand him. Yeah, so that'd be interesting. Who would people like to meet or if you could meet Jesus, but you could understand each other? That would be an eye opener. I bet he'd be someone that you wouldn't expect, and it's nothing like what we heard about in the Bible. Joanna, thank you, Anne. We forget the harsh things they done. Yes, they did the time, and they're trying to change. But some things they did take a cold heart to do, and that can stay with you. Well, this is it, right? You have to be wary. There's a reason why employers look at a criminal record. There's a very good reason because they want to know whether it's taking a risk. And someone can just pop up on YouTube, claim to be a reformed character, start getting money thrown at them. And they're not, but the thing with Darren Jean, this is what gets me, it's obvious he isn't a reformed character. Yet people are convinced that he is for some reason. I mean, don't see what he has to do more to show that he isn't reformed. Yeah, Rob Baker. It's not like you've wisely warned Sean Ann. He's played with fire now. He's got his hands bent. Well, this is it. This is where I don't have much sympathy with Sean. Well, I don't have any really. Is that yeah, he is getting flack and all this business, but he says he's sorry for what he did, but he isn't because he keeps on trying to push it onto other people and saying this, but he's still doing things. I know he's look the filth he's been putting on his channel. I mean, and going in schools, it doesn't ring right, does it? Come on, someone tell me I'm wrong. It doesn't ring right that someone that's going in schools is putting on about dominatrixes and all that. It's just not. If he wants to do that, go on, BitChute or somewhere else. But it seems creepy that he's doing that. Oh, 3 wishes now. You never tell your wishes, or they never come true. Never tell a wish. So if I told you, my wishes won't come true. This with Darren G thing. What Louise? What I don't understand. Why Sean is out the top with Darren G? Is he scared of him or something? Just looking at how Darren presents tells me Darren G is well unhinged. My God, he's that unhinged. The door's lying on the bleeding floor. For some reason, I think it's just to get back at James English, and I've had this out with him. I've said to him, I said, "What the hell are you doing?" You know, James English would be laughing. I would. I mean, if I'd gone through an experience with Darren G like James English went through with him, and then he went to me enemy, I'd be laughing my socks off. I'd think, ha ha ha, no, you have to deal with it. You put up with it, buddy. That's what I'd be saying. And I told you, I said, do you think James English will care? Because then, one, you can't believe weird. See, the view is this is what you're supposed to believe, that Darren was set up. And apparently he was put into a hypnotic trance and made to say all these things by James English. Absolutely ridiculous it was. Some kind of trilby character coming out hypnotized to perform. But if Shaw wants to do that and make an idiot of himself, he can. But that's what I can see. People are laughing at him, at Sean, for doing that. It's weird. It's weird that he'd support someone in his excuses. Well, Darren's been through so much, yeah, and I think people who have been on the receiving end of Darren's behaviour have been through a lot as well, a hell of a lot, so that's what. And another thing that Sean's doing, he's crying about Marvin Herbert. Well, not crying. Yeah, I think he found it quite funny, didn't he? But he's going on about Marvin Herbert now and all this. But he forgets me and other people were getting threats off Darren G. I mean, I didn't get many threats, but I got some threats off him. You know, he was ripping me to bits on his channel at one point. So he forgets that. Well, Walk On Always Believe. Do you have a favourite film and a comfort film? Also, do you have a favourite song and who's your favourite singers? I'd say, favourite film. Oh, well, the top one. It's got to be Gone with the Wind. You just can't better Gone with the Wind. It's got everything. It's funny. It's got drama. It's got everything. It has you on the edge of your seat. So I'd say that's the best film ever made in my mind. Favorite song, I'd say, it's a hard song, isn't it? Diana Ross, Theme from Mahogany. Do you know where you're going to? I always loved that. I always loved that theme from Mahogany. Favorite singers? Oh, well, the Beatles, aren't they? Well, I've got to say the Beatles. You can't not say the Beatles. But there's lots, absolutely lots. I've got a wide interest in music, like most people do, don't we? I don't know. She hasn't. She's been on his interviews, hasn't he? Interviewing people with him. Yeah. Do you know where you're going by Dan Ross? Theme from Mahogany, lovely song. I just think it's an absolutely beautiful song. Let's see. I'm go back on the because I'll be things in me. Evening, Michelle. No, thank you, Roger. Yeah, this I can't get where people call my comments. When I mention Darren G, and they go on, reform. What are he doing? What's he done? Someone please tell me what's he done. He is handing out little leaflets of things that he hasn't even come out with. Then he's causing all kinds of havoc on. And didn't I say he was using? Didn't I say he was using? And he admitted to it. That's where the money's been going. Just looking at this. What else to talk about? See if anyone wants to jump on, let me know. Oh, Kelly Diamond. Yeah, Kelly Diamond, she knew exactly what she was doing. She's not. I can assure you this bleeding thing. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was an equal partner, no doubt about that. But again, the two of them put her out there as being, delicate, needing help. Now, what it is, it's not so much a calm kind of rage. He's brave behind his computer. If you saw him face on, he'd be all, and the hands going, you're no good and all this. But actually, to tell you, my idea is if he did come up against someone, I reckon if he came up against someone like the real Danny G, I reckon Danny G would level him out. He would easily with no problem. Not saying that I'd want to see that happen, but I reckon that's the truth about it. Ann, please tell us what your take on Jen Sean's new sidekick is. I think she's all right. I just we had that run in, but that's because that wasn't against her. That was against the two of them on Steve Wraith, for people who don't know, trying to push all the blame onto Decca Heggie being having made them say the things they did, or shocking them, which they went, oh, come on, Sean Atwood, Decca Heggie, shocked Sean Atwood, are you kidding me? The things Sean Atwood gets up to. And so it just didn't like it. I thought, yeah, there's lots about Decca Heggie that you can pull. There's lots about him that needs answering. But don't go on there saying, oh, I was shocked and I was crying for 2 hours on the phone. No, you were shocked and crying for 2 hours on the phone because you got hammered in the comments, love, for laughing. And you see it on my channel, a video I did. She was egging him on to talk about those things. But in herself, as a person, no objection. She seems all right to me. Nothing wrong with her. She can have a bit of potty mouth. I don't like that. I mean, if she was interviewing me and she came out with some of those choice words, the F word, it would be like straight away, just cut the camera and don't insult someone when you're interviewing them by doing that. But I suppose that's what, until someone objects to it. I dare say if I did say that, she'd say, all right, I won't do it. So, but she's okay as a person. She looks like someone that was very nice, would be okay to get on. She wouldn't go out trying to harm someone. I just didn't like the way that was done. And I think basically, I've got a good idea Sean came up with that idea. Because behind the scenes, what it was, I was just out of the blue asked by Steve Wraith to come on this show to talk about domestic violence. And the first thing I said to Steve Wraith, said, why are you asking me? I'm no great authority on domestic violence. And then Sean was messaging me on Twitter saying, oh, are you going to come on this? And I thought, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then I twigged something's going on here that I'm not getting told. So I acted stupid. And then Sean blazed out that he wanted to come on and clear his and Jen's name. So I thought, well, that's what it is. So I thought that what was doing now, I might be wrong here. I thought what was being planned was that I was to go onto there, right? And suddenly out of the blue, without me knowing it, Sean and Jen were going to go on to me. You said we were laughing, blah, 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 blah. But I think I was wrong in making that assumption. So when I was there, I thought, I hope this wasn't supposed to be a setup. But when I said to Steve Wraith, I said, look, I know what the jazz is. I said, Sean's just blazed it out what it's about. And so Steve just laughed. But it went the way it did. I wish I hadn't responded like that because it wasn't a good look. But I was just so fuming. I thought, stop pushing her on. I mean, look, right. Pull Decca Heggie for what he's done. And pull Decca Heggie for not doing things he said he'd do, like producing his paperwork, his proper paperwork. But don't go saying that he was being shocking when he was being led into saying it. No, I can't stand that. I can't stand things like that. Let's see. I'm off to eat. Oh my God, people, this is shocking. Going to eat instead of watching Beautiful Me. That's a crime. It should be. There must be a law against that. Someone look up. There's a law against going off to eat, find food more interesting than the wonderful, beautiful Anne. Oh yeah, she's robbed. She's been arrested. Well, this is new. She's been arrested over this. That's the thing which I said last week. Jeanette Archer, the Satniks. That was embarrassing, wasn't it? The Satniks. People don't know she did the sign. And they spelt it wrong. Instead of Satanists, this is supposed to be the one that's going on about, ridding the world of Satanists. And they spelt it Satniks. And it's stuck now. They keep on calling them the Satniks. But I don't know about that. I say wait and see what happens, because I saw that email going around that was proposed to be from a. My gut instinct was it's a fake. But at the same time, she's that bizarre and out there. You don't know. You have to let the police deal with it. I wouldn't call it either way. I wouldn't say it's definitely 100% a fake. I wouldn't say it's definitely true that she did that. Me gut instinct is that it's not genuine, that email, but that's just my gut instinct. Let the police look into it. It might be genuine. I don't know. Well, the thing is, well, Sean didn't expect me to go on like that. I didn't expect me to go on like that. It just that it was just like when Jen starts going on. Oh, I was upset and I was shocked. I thought, oh no, you weren't such. I thought you were the one that was getting him to talk, but she was. If you look at my, oh, why am I talking like that all of a sudden? But she was the one that was going to him. Tell us about it. Why am I suddenly going and knocked to fire? Oh good God, not a nice sound, that. Disgraceful. Disgraceful. Would you eat in front of Queen Elizabeth I if she was making an announcement to the country? Yeah, but I say she was, but it's the past now and leave her in the past. It was no great crime she did. No great crime. I just took off on it. She looks like a nice enough woman to me. I wouldn't, if I met her, I wouldn't keep on going on. You did this, you did that. It's the past now. Let's just let it go. You have to let people move on. Oh yeah, Miss So won't put that up here. I've just seen what you were asking about Jeanette Arch in the email. Yeah, it was about that. But let's just put it this way. Maybe I'm just hoping that Jeanette isn't that way out. I don't think she's that. I don't know, but it just didn't seem genuine to me. But again, it's genuine enough for the police to try and to arrest her. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what. That's all you can do is wait. Oh, thank you, Lisa. But yeah, so that's all that business. What else to talk about now? It's time to run the thing. No one's coming on to talk to me, so I don't know what to talk about. Yeah, the Satniks. It wasn't that embarrassing. You think they would have said, right, let's spell it. Right. But when you big banner for people don't know, they went around with this huge banner and Satniks, and it was like, oh God. Well, don't forget to read them a nice bedtime story. Do you know, I never got that. I was only the other day, I was walking around because I like to do a bit of walking for my exercise. I was walking around and I thought, you know what? I thought, I never got any. I can never remember getting bedtime stories. Odd that. I was thinking, I can never actually remember that. I think my parents were too busy. Maybe I did because they were loving parents. Well, after got a mentality, and there was that other one, wasn't it? Do you remember the? Oh God, what was the name? I've got a video about her as well. She came on, and she was saying that she was a. What was it? She was saying that she was an what is it? I can't remember, but she was saying she was this, that, and the other. She was intersex. She was XXY, which is would be unique, very, very unique. Then a couple of weeks later, she came on saying that she was transgender. And I thought, wait a minute. I mean, I know you can be fluid, but I mean, going from intersex to XXY to transgender is a bit of a massive move around. And she was saying that she'd been in this place with Jeanette when Jeanette was young, and she saw baby Ben, this baby that Jeanette keeps on going on about. And Jeanette told her how to eat straw and get water, put a little hole in the ground to get water. Now, this one reckons she was 2 when this was happening. 2. Now, Jeanette didn't pull her up and say, "You liar. You weren't there. You were never there." It was, "Oh, she wasn't there. You're just a liar." Jeanette let her do all this right in front of her and never challenged her. So that's how truthful Jeanette Archer is. Yeah, exactly. How can she remember that when she was 2? And she can remember that child, Jeanette Archer, now an adult. Could you remember if you saw someone when you were 2 and they were a child, would you remember them as they got older? I don't think so. And it's amazing how the rubbish, I'll tell you what, they're lucky, the victims are lucky that these worldwide global satanics are so rubbish at what they're doing, because they keep on letting people escape to out them, don't they? And don't do it. And yet they'll sacrifice a child at the drop of a hat, yet they'll let people like Archer run around exposing them. See, it's obvious, isn't it? Paul Cross, what do we do in my spare time? Oh, also, from tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, Monday. From Monday, I'll be actually decorating the living room and the hallway. Living room, I'm all right with. Got some lovely paper there, like a marbly effect with little glitter bits in it. But I hate doing the hallway. I hate it because it's got a big, huge. You get to the top of the stairs and it goes right up, and I hate doing. Yeah. But and it's like they say, you can have traumatic memory, but a lot of this time, recovered memories they rely on. Recovered memory. They're relying on that too much. Oh, I suddenly remembered. Rubbish. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. And they're making a mockery of it. That's what some hypnotists came out with, didn't he? Recovered memories. No, there's a thing called fantasizing when you're in a hypnotic trance. But they can never find evidence. That's what Michelle remembers in the 80s threw up, this recovered memories. Oh yeah, insects. You're born this what see this was said Lisa before. You're born in sex. It's not a choice. It's physical. If I was, let's say, had a hump on my back, would it be my choice to have the hump on my back? No, it wouldn't. So if you're born in sex, and insects has a wide variety, wide scope, huge scope. There's I'm called complex insects, which used to be called true hermaphrodite. There's all kinds of levels of it, but people for some reason get confused by the word insects. They get very confused by it. Actually, sworn on eyeballs. Do you want to explain yourself? Because you sound like a bit of a weirdo. To be honest with you, being honest with you, you're sounding like a weirdo. You know. Here we are. Oh, where's Derek? How are you, Derek? Hi, Anne. Great chat again. Jeanette Archer encourages convert satanic abuse by being so histrionic. No one believes her. Do you know what? You've just said something there, Derek, I've said before in the past many times. You know, when you get these people who come out with these outlandish conspiracy theories and these outlandish claims, actually what they're doing is they're helping. If there are, I mean, there's bound to be, look, I've always said this, there's bound to be somewhere satanic ritual abuse going on. It's bound to be somewhere because humans, as I've always said, there's no level they won't stoop to. Humanity. It's going to be going on somewhere, but it's not every street corner like they're making out, this satanic panic thing they're going on about. But by them making these outlandish, by Jeanette Archer saying things like they were lizards, that she was abused by the Queen and the royal family and all this business, that there's tunnels here, there, and everywhere, but yet she doesn't take people to the opening of these tunnels so they can see where these tunnels are. That actually cause what they're doing, they're creating the trend where the vast majority of people would think wacko, odd in the head, strange, they're not normal, they're unhinged. So that if anyone else comes along, say that a genuine survivor comes along, they won't be believed. That's what happens to people who are survivors of ordinary abuse. Because someone makes it outlandish. Look what happened over the VIP, you know what I mean, in Parliament fiasco. And what happened there? Because it became so outlandish and everywhere, people were popping up. Oh, I was a victim. I was a victim. I was a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. When the vast majority of them were not. They were just saying it to get attention, and it was trendy at that time, which does happen. Believe me, it does happen. It comes in trends. Genuine people. Look, and Carl Beach, what he did. And I was the one that said to people, Carl Beach is one himself. He said, no one would listen to me. Now, anyway, people like him and all that they do is give the establishment the excuse to say, oh, you see, they're all nuts. You can't believe any of them. They come out with they just want money. That's what they just after money. They're after compensation. And the majority, what's a majority? The majority of the public don't want to know anyway. They'd rather it's too uncomfortable for them, so they'd rather do that and do that. So you give them the excuse, say, oh, well, yeah, look what happened over that Carl Beach fella. Look what happened over that strange Jeanette Archer one. Look at that strange John Wedger one. You're giving them the excuse to turn away. That's what's happening. So you're right, Derek. It actually helps protect any offenders that are out there. I've always said that because they'll all be classed as being strange or nuggets, shall I put it. Oh, I don't know what that is. Yes, I remember they used that. Aphrodite. Which you're talking about Ron Swanson? Ooh. Let's keep a bit. Well, it's going a bit far, isn't it? Lizards. And yet she said in a previous one, if you watch her being interviewed by Sean Atwood, and if you watch her being interviewed by Wedges, she never mentions these lizards, strange enough. She never mentions the royal family either. Strange enough. So that's what, but yeah, people will insist she's telling the truth. Oh, is that right? I won't put that on the screen. I know what you're saying about NFA. Yeah, so you have to be careful these people making these outlandish claims because they do. If someone genuine comes along and that's it, they're not believed. It's like what happened in Rochdale and Rotherham, right? These young girls were coming forward saying this, and they were just being passed off as being little, I hate using this word, tramps. No one was listening to them because it was like, little tramps. And that's what they were judged as. So you have to be very, very careful because genuine people do come along, and look, if the establishment can ignore them, they will. And say, well, we don't have. And Carl Beach, that was the icing on the cake there. And see the people that fell, quite rightfully, campaigners who fell face into the mud over that. What's the one name? Shiny blue dress. I can't remember her real name. She was one that started denying that she knew after she was bigging them up all the time. And, you know, she actually did training with them, didn't she? Or worked with them. And others, they've just like hit the ground straight away, went, oh, shut. And that's what to say to have. And I said at the time, this wall, they had this thing up, didn't they? It was becoming ridiculous. It was. Right. Carl Survivor, get this. Why was I the only one that noticed this? Why was I the only one? Just at the right time to take people back, Carl Beach, he was the one that has been put in prison because he made allegations against politicians that turned out not to be true. And it came out that he was interested in young boys himself. But again, like Jeanette Archer made vast claims, about not things like lizards or anything, but he claimed his body was scarred and all this. He couldn't look at his body. There isn't a mark on his body. Things didn't add up that he was saying. But anyway, I won't go into full details because it will take too long to tell. But I was talking. I met two officers I used to work with, and I was just talking. And I said, the strangest thing happened the other day. I said, it was on Twitter. And I said, there's this fella called Carl Survivor. Now, remember, at that time, everyone knew Carl Beach as Nick. I believe Nick. Do you remember Trend? I believe Nick. Anyway, I said, this Carl Survivor who was raising money to do this, what was it? Wall of something or other. Wall of silence or something. Where he was asking people for donations and people were throwing donations at him and they were going to do this wall. And what it was, survivors of abuse, the type of abuse I'm talking about, we're going to have the pictures up there. And immediately alarm bells started ringing him about the wall. I thought, oh, there's something just not right about that. Why would you want? And people were gagging to get on this wall. Oh, I want to be on the wall. Oh, I've paid. They had to pay to get on this wall. Oh, I want my picture up there. No, I'm a survivor. It just seems so strange. We're talking about, to children. And it's like, I don't know, what would you call it? Like an X Factor audition. Who's the one that was the most abused? It was awful strange. Anyway, this Carl Survivor that was doing this, raising this money, he sent out a tweet, and it was just by when things happen just by coincidence, but yet spookily they happen by coincidence. You think, was I meant to see that? There's something up there meaning me to see that. He sent out this tweet, and it said, "Oh, Nick, I wish the police would question me because I can tell them about the people that Nick was accusing at the time." And I'll stress again, he was known as Nick to the public then. They didn't know his real name. So I said to him, to these officers, I said, I don't know what it is. I said, but this just seems strange. I said, I don't know what it is. I said, I think that's this Nick fella. And one of them just looked at me. Now, I'd been out the police about 2-3 years then. And he looked and said, what do you mean? I said, this Carl Survivor. I said, just tell me something. I said, is this person Nick? I said, would the name Carl stick as his real name? And he just looked at me and he said, well, what are you trying to say? I said, they're the same personality. And I said, why is he lying as Carl Survivor, saying he was, and if he was questioned by the police, he'd be able to back up this Nick fella. Well, then I got the full-blown story of what was going on. And what it was, they knew damn well Nick Carl Beach was a fraud and was a liar. So they took his case up. Now, at this time, he hadn't been exposed as a fraud, but they took the case on. So as this officer said to me, it looks like, but they couldn't confirm it. They said it looks like it's a bring down. Now, what they mean by a bring down is that they take someone who's making allegations, they take it on, they know they're lying, so they can turn around and take them down, but not only take him down, cast doubt on everyone that was making allegations, and there were people who were making genuine allegations, but they needed someone that they knew was lying. And even though they were telling the public they believed him, allegedly, I'll say allegedly, they didn't believe him. So anyway, I tried to get news out there. Be careful of this Carl survivor. He's not genuine. And be careful of this Nick fella. There's things going around. No, I got absolutely hounded off YouTube. Off Twitter, sorry. And one of them was that shiny blue dress one. She has like these little trolls. At the time, she did. And what's the other one? Sunny Clarabelle. Oh, she was horrible, that Sunny Clarabelle one. And they went right for me doing that. And it was proven correct at the end of the day. If they'd listened, these were the people that were telling you, you have to listen to people, you have to listen. And I was saying, you've got someone there that is actually making claims, and they won themselves. And they wouldn't listen. So it destroyed everything for all of them. If they'd had the sense to question, they would have known. But that's what happened over that. Oh, yeah, Aphrodite. Or Aphrodite. That was their name, wasn't it? Aphrodite Williams or something. The one that was with Jeanette Archer claimed she'd seen her all. Would you ever go back on stage, Anne? And would you? And who would you like? Well, I wasn't an actor. I was always a dancer. I was always a ballet dancer. I did a little bit of acting, but it was only a tiny bit. And I never, funny enough, I couldn't feel comfortable acting. Never felt comfortable. I'd do it, but my range as an actor would be very limited. Very, very limited. I know I haven't got that, but dancing-wise, now I used to be able to go. Well, I say that. Used to be able to go on stage, but you're always nervous. You always are nervous. I always said this when people say, "Oh, do you love dancing? Dancing's your life. Ballet's your life, and all this." When you stop dancing and you hear the applause, then it's good. It's away. But when you're actually doing it, your full concentration is just on it. And I mean, you're taking an art form. When you're talking about ballet, it's an art form that's taken to the extreme, an athletic level. And people are sitting there that know every move and know if you do that move wrong, and the pressure on you is horrific. But yeah, I do acting, but I don't. I say my range will be very limited. I remember someone told me years ago, "Oh, you should be an actor. You should be an actor. You'd be wonderful, darling." And I thought, oh, get off. I could never see it in myself. But I used to always feel conscious. When I was actually having to use my voice when I was acting, because I was used to expressing myself without words. Bye-bye, Annette. See you next time if you can make it. Oh, yeah, I heard that I'm a swinger. Yeah, I heard that. Serious, very, very serious. It's your some people are okay. It depends. I mean, you always have some injury. I've said this before. If you get to the professional stage, you're always going to have some injuries. As a ballet dancer, you're always working through an injury when you perform. And you're terrified that if you don't accept a role, that's it. The chance are you won't be offered any more roles. So you have to be, even though you're in pain. Yeah, I put one up about if you look on my community page, I put up a video, an interview years ago, Kelsey Kirkland from the New York City Ballet. And she caused an absolute storm by admitting and going public that she was on cocaine. Nearly died from it, but she literally was dancing on cocaine because to put up with the pain and the stress of it, because you're always injured. But it's just one of those things. And as you get older, it does kick in. And it's funny because some pieces of music you'll hear, and it's odd if you'd injured yourself or you were injured and you were doing a certain role in a certain ballet. If you hear that music again, it takes you back to the pain. And it's like, oh, I was in agony and you've got to smile all the way through it. But that's it. No one's forcing you to do it. You do it. Fairy Elephant. That's a good one. Oh, The Black Swan. Natalie Portman. It was very, very bleak, wasn't it? It was more or less about paranoia, wasn't it? And that's another thing that can happen in the ballet world. It's because it's so horrifically competitive that there's always someone wanting your role, and you know they are, and you're wanting their role. Be honest about it. Everyone, it's very competitive, so it can get in. As if anyone hasn't seen Black Swan, don't expect a pretty film about pretty ballerinas. It isn't. It's very disturbing. It's a psychological film, really, and she's becoming unhinged, totally unhinged. But it follows the Swan Lake story. And I'm going to be doing one about Swan Lake anyway. So the people who don't understand the stories of ballets, the famous ballets, I want to go because look, it's in a because of all this mess up, ballet like other art forms are really, really um suffering now financially, and it's extremely expensive to put ballets on. Like operas are extremely expensive. So I'm going to be explaining the stories behind them because people don't know the stories behind these, like Swan Lake, which I want you to know. And I'll be advising what people should go to see and what they shouldn't go to see first time around until you get used to the going to see it, but also the difference. And I've always expressed this. I've heard more people saying over the years they didn't like ballet, and I've taken them along to see a ballet live, and they've transformed. They love it. You cannot. What you see on the television or on YouTube is not the same as what you experience live. It's a completely different experience. Oh yeah, the ballet. It's ruthless. I mean, unforgiving. And once you're at the point where you're not good enough anymore, or you're not quite able to do it, that's it. You're out. There's no messing about. It really is extremely brutal. And the standard of dancers now is frightening. The standard is massive. In only a few decades, I mean, what we were expected to do when I was dancing and what they're expected to do now, the standard is really, and that's how ballet evolves. It's gone really high now. I mean, the famous one, there two fouettes that you see in Swan Lake, the Black Swan doing, where she's whipping her leg. That's what it means to whip. She does 32. Actually, that's changed over time. It's not 32 now because what you'll find now is it's a fouette or the whip of the leg. Then they'll fit in 3 turns in between, then a whip, then 3 turns, then a whip, then 3 turns. And it's like, my God, they didn't. You might get someone doing 2, and that was considered a big thing. But now they're just getting absolutely going to the stratosphere. And some of the Cuban dancers, whew, fast, absolutely amazing. Oh, the fairies, the children of the fallen angels. Have you seen? Oh, what is it? Is it? Which isn't much good actually. Fairy tale about the Cottonley fairies a few years ago. To go on about that in one point, and also another one which is much better. Oh, what's it called? It's much better. And I've got assigned an autograph copy of the book as well. Photographing Fairies. That goes on about it. The fairies were angels that fell from heaven and got suddenly stuck here. But we all know. Well, we all know that they exist, don't they? We must never say they don't exist, or one of them passes away. I don't know what I. Well, let's put it this way: didn't she say she used to, when she'd be fighting with a partner, she'd run to shows and they'd be dancing all night and all that? I mean, you have to work it out for yourself, don't you? I always got the impression with Sean, I might be wrong in this, but I got the impression women aren't so much people to them, they're playthings. That's the image. That's the. I might be wrong, but that's what I get anyway. Oh, I haven't seen that one. I will have to look Doctor Strange and Miss Mel. Let's just write that down. I'll look after that. But I love doing photographic videos. That's good. So yeah, just looking through me. Oh, I remember that. Andrew Lloyd Webber when he came back to vote. It wasn't just him, wasn't there that Scottish woman as well, businesswoman? Did he? Oh yeah, Cuban dancers are absolutely. It's amazing. The way they just they whiz around, and you see when it's that fast, or they're making ballet faster, which they are doing. The danger is it wears out the dancer much quicker, so they have a much shorter lifespan. And there's something to be said, and this about keeping. And the Russians have said this because the Marinsky, which used to be the Kirov, and it was the Kirov that came out with all the classics: Sleeping Beauty, Swan Lake, the Nutcracker. They were the companies that evolved in Russia, those ballets, and then took they saved literally the Russians saved ballet, and they created classical ballet because before then it was romantic. It wasn't classical with the tutus sticking out and all this. But I was going to say about the. Oh, yeah, they say that they look at the Royal Ballet, our ballet company, and they say they always think, isn't it a pity that, like the Royal, they don't have the little, what they call little movements. If you look at the Royal Ballet, the way, because different ballet schools have different, and ballet companies have slightly different ways of doing things. It's like the fouette, which was talking about. A Russian school teaching the fouettes is different from what they'll be taught in the Royal Ballet schools. It's a different technique if you look at it. And what they're all do, which is lovely, they keep the little feet movements very complex from one to the other, where that seems to be going out the door with some companies in favor of these grand, huge, big leaps and all that, which, yeah, they're impressive, they're wonderful, but you want to see the art form as well, where it's graceful as well at the same time. And there's a danger when it gets bigger and faster, you lose all that. And I say your dancers retire earlier because they can't keep up with it. I'll put that through. I'll put that through. Because we'll wind up in a minute if no one's going to come on and talk. The police are all over Tune Body. There'll be people that are watching. Definitely be people. You get some people say, "Oh, the police are watching me," and they're not. God blimey, people have a weird idea that what the police they can do. You know, they say, "Oh, the police are watching me" on YouTube. Can't even get them to watch you when you're right in front of them half the time. Just look through my comments. Yeah, unless you go to see them live, you don't know the difference. Live theatre is completely different. See, ballet doesn't transform well to the screen. It doesn't television or the big screen. You have to see it in real life. It's completely different. It is. It's a completely different experience. Now, what else to talk about? I want to talk about something else, but I don't know what to talk about. So, spoken about that now, spoken about the podcast wars, everyone kicking out. I've spoken about this business with Sean and Marvin here, but what else is I want to speak about something else before I go. Cryptids. Oh no. Do you know what? I'm not I don't really I don't get into them. I mean, it's one of those things I've never been into, cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman, mermaid, lizard, Mothman. I've never really been into anything like that. I'm one of these type like what Paris was saying the other day. I have to see it before, or I have to see evidence of it before I believe in it. Oh, the fighting is getting absolutely stupid. It is. They're ruining their own message. These are people that are trying to come across with a message, and and it's embarrassing. Why do grown men act like that? And also, another thing to say about this is this going on. You hear them, and they suddenly say, "Oh, I've got 5 kids," or "I've got 6 kids." Oh, ladies, will you stop being fussy about what you let them climb on top of you before you have babies with them? They're just sitting there running around threatening everyone when they're middle-aged men. Do you know what? I can't work it out. Oh my God, look, there's a thug. There's a violent thug. I'll have a baby with them. I know before anyone says two can tango, yeah, but only one's left holding the baby at the end of the day when the other one wants to run away. It's in your own interest to be very, very fussy who you decide to go that far with. Oh, I've just been talking about John Wedger before. I was talking to him about him before. Yeah, and diluting their own message. But yeah, this is it, and contradicting with their alpha male nonsense. I just hope that people like like I'm going to make a fool of myself now. Danny Christie. I just hope that he's being genuine and stop the Christian thing until you're 100% sure. You can give out the same message without doing that, you know. But hope he's being genuine when he's doing all this, because you need genuine people to be coming out with all this stuff, because there are some genuine ones, but usually find they vanish from YouTube because YouTube is too toxic for them. So they suddenly vanish and go off and start working. My son's dad is the most dangerous man in England, but he sometimes backs me. Sometimes isn't good enough. It should be all the time, shouldn't it? It's just my opinion, right? I just say to self, it amazes me. I mean, I might be cynical. I might be very, very cynical, but if I was saying, I'd be saying to self, right, a partner, have a baby with them. Now, will this person keep me in comfort? Oh, you're going to say what a horrible thing I am for saying this, but I don't care. Will they be able to keep me in comfort? Have they got a good job that they can keep me in comfort, and I can be the lady of the manor, and go around in my I don't know, go down pretty things, stuff like that, buy me pretty stuff, and all this business. Then after it's lasted for a few years, I'd say, all right, want to have a baby? Come on, it's baby time. And make sure that I've got a contract there as well. If anything happens that suddenly after I've had the baby, that's what you should be doing. But think of it like a business. You wouldn't go into a business, would you, without checking out what you were getting and giving it a test. Car, do you know what? People will, and let's do this. People will take more care and take more checks buying a used car, than they will checking the person they're going to have a baby with. So, you have to, and I know two can tango and all this, know that, but as I say, it's one can easily walk away, the other one can't. See, they're nothing but a bunch of has-beens, or more accurately, never-beens. Proper old school would not load themselves. Exactly. They wouldn't do it. And these are just people that are, as I've said before, the little boys trapped in adult bodies. I don't know what's happened, but well, you do know what's happened. And I've said this before, but I'll say it quickly again. In the past, because the way society was constructed, men and women had responsibilities, and men had to be the providers. It was a terrible thing for a man to, walk away from his wife and children. It was considered a horrific thing. Now it's considered basically more or less the norm in a lot of cases now, that the man just, oh yeah, and walks away. And the kids see him every so often. Where it was more of a, not saying it wasn't better always, because of course people were locked into marriages that would destroy them, that weren't happy. And there was always one thing, wasn't it? I said this the other week as well. Only one person was expected to be married, happy in a relationship. That was the man. But now it's sort of like it's gone. It's totally shattered. But if I had children, I wouldn't want them watching YouTube and hearing me going on about, I'm going to do this and smoking weed and all that and ranting and raging. Because whether they like it or not, that's going to have an effect on the kids, whether they like it or not. And I said this about the real Danny G. You may think that everything's all right, but you can guarantee that with these rages that he goes into and screaming and shouting, which he's not going to hide from his kids, we know that, what will happen is children that come from environments like that go on to have relationships like that, which is tragic, because that's their norm. That's what's normal. That's the relationship. Children pick up from the parents what a relationship should be like. When you see this, people marry for money, look, right. If that's, you can't, this thing about love and all that, I've always said, yeah, love is a wonderful thing, isn't it? But love doesn't pay the bills. Love doesn't bring up a child in a safe, nice, wonderful, caring, beautiful environment. You need practical things. You need security. Love goes a long way. Love is important, very important, but you've got to get the practicalities in there as well. And I say, I'm not a proponent of what used to go on years ago, because people were locked in miserable marriages. And if a woman had a baby out of wedlock, there was nothing down for it. So I'm not advocating that. But what I'm saying is, bring up your daughters to be fussy and to have such an opinion of themselves that they want. I mean, I don't care. I don't care whether it sounds sexist against men. She wants to be kept in the way, she's, how could I say, accustomed to it. She wants to be kept. She's the princess. That's it. If I had a daughter, I'd be, she came back with the suitor. I'd be like analysing everything, bank balance the lot, criminal record check the lot. I'd be looking into it. I certainly would be. And that's because I'd be saying to myself, I want the best and I want something that's going to last. Look, right, passion. The people mix up lust for love as well. It's just lust. And have your fun. Want to have your fun, have your fun. But have the sense to take protection so you know, producing a child that you're going to be left with and have to bring up on your own. And also give your child that message, don't make sure that you're in a secure, yet security. That's what people miss out now. Security seems to be a bad thing to say, but you need security. And I'm not saying that women on their own having children, some wonderful single parents out there, wonderful. And actually, it's better that they are on their own sometimes because if the father was involved in it, it'd be horrendous. But and of course, the single fathers who are amazing as well, wonderful single fathers. So it's not all. Just Sean, I hate that he had a daughter in America. I don't know whether that's showing up, but I hate ages ago that he had a daughter in America. But yeah, but you hear this like, oh, I've got 5 kids, I've got 6 kids. Oh, what? And you're sitting on YouTube ranting and raving and all this. No, you should be. No, and I know that it's not easy. It's easy to say, oh, get out and get a job. Are the jobs there? Are the jobs there? No, they're not. So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying these are deadbeat dads, but the act, it's like, look, right. I don't know whether I should mention the name, but you'll know who I'm talking about anyway. You're 5 alive. Choose a life, not a knife. You're on it. Who the hell says that's going to be a good partner and father? Who the hell in the right mind would say, here we are, get on top of me, you want to have your baby? I don't, beyond me. Have respect for, if you've got children, got special daughters, bring them up with so much self-respect for themselves that they want the best for themselves. The best for themselves. They're worth it. And they're going to, and it's not a matter of having to save themselves. Look, people nowadays, young people nowadays, well, in my day, they did as well. They're going to do it. They're going to perform. They're going to do the do while they get down to it. But say some right, make sure you're wearing protection. And when you're in a stable relationship, wait a couple of years, 3 years, whatever, when you know it's stable and you can afford to bring up a baby in a comfortable position that will provide for the child, then have your baby. But people just, it's ridiculous now. And that's what I say, getting back to it, that's what horrifies me when they're on here screaming and shouting that they've got kids running around everywhere. And it's like, oh, that is not right. That is not right. But again, in fairness to someone like the real Danny G, at least he's in his child's life, his children's life. So is Danny Christie. He's in his children's lives. So is, what's his name? Paul. You know who I mean? Danny Christie's friend, who I told off for swearing and cursing. He's in his children's life, so you can't fault them there. And, you can't fault them. So there's a balance there. They're there. They're in the child's life. But a lot of the time, it's just, they run off, don't they? Scottish Rebels, not just about how daughters are raised, it's also on us as fathers to raise our sons well with a functional. Yeah, exactly. It is. It's on both parents actually to do. But if a child, I tell you now, if a child, and we all know this is true, if a child is grown up here and one parent rage, parents battling, they're going to walk into a relationship like that. The chances that that's going to happen. So you're just perpetuating the same thing. It happens again and again. Yeah, Paul Venice, that's it. He's in his child's life, so you can't fault him there. No, I don't know whether Sean has a child. I heard he had a daughter in America, Sean, now, but I don't know whether he does or not. Paris going on about the crazy. You're having your own little conversation there, aren't you, Paris? Children have plows anymore. Are they destined to a habit of staying in too much when they grow up? Well, it's because of technology. They don't need to go out, do they? And it is getting increasingly dangerous for them. The dangers but not only dangers from the obvious thing of adults, there's the danger from their peers. I mean, these stabbings and everything. It's getting ridiculous. It is. I can't imagine the stress on a adult now. But years ago, we only went out because there was nothing else to do, and there was no technology like you have. But I remember it was still dangerous years ago. I can remember the gangs. Now that's what you don't see so much now. Touch wood. The gangs hanging around, nowhere near as frequent as they used to be. So it depends where people are. But the sad thing is, you could go out and you could roam for absolutely miles, couldn't you? As a kid years ago, you could roam for miles and never come to any harm. Yeah, you can. I mean, you can have that situation clear. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but as long as, you know, because especially if people marry young, I mean, you're going to, and then as they grow up, as they mature, they start getting more, they start taking on the responsibilities more. But he walked in now. Yeah, I agree with you there, Goldie. Licks, I agree with you with that. Um, See, it can be difficult. It sounds like you're putting the onus on the woman when I say things like this, but I'm sorry, bring your daughters up, and as was said, and sons up to know how to go into a relationship. And it's not nice as a child, Dad. I mean, my parents split up when I was 9, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. Not that I saw anything bad going on, but it just was a strange thing to see happening around me. I mean, I suppose it had to happen because, you know, when one partner is cheating on the other one. So let's see what time is it now. Oh, Paris and Swinger having a good old to do with each other here. Good old conversation with each other. So how long we on? I'll get to 2 hours, then I'll call it a night. But I'm thinking of something else to talk about. Let's see. We've spoken about the podcast wars. Spoken about Alex Belfield, haven't we? Oh, I've answered that last week, Fig, about Wildman. I've answered it. I'll be saying exactly the same thing. He was all right when I met him. There's no problems with him. I liked him. How dare you? How dare you miss my show? I thought that you lived for this. Thought that you had it like, ooh, hands on. Hands on. Come on, Paris, you can say something controversial. Come on, say something. Give me a controversial subject to talk about before I go in the comments. Well, he was all I can say. He was all right with me. He was. I found him okay. I only messed with him for the duration of the before the podcast and afterwards, and had a few what you call it, tweets with him or whatever. Alexis Ray? Do you mean Alex Reid? Don't know. I haven't got a clue. We follow each other on Twitter, but I haven't got a clue. Oh, Cresta Dick. Isn't that a terrible name, eh? Cresta Dick. God. You just, I mean, what? It's like when you get someone with the same name Head and the parent calls them Richard. It's like, oh, I've got an, I won't say, I've got, and it's like, they should be actually prosecuted for doing that to the poor child. Yeah, Cresta Dick. Look, right. Yeah, it's right. But we knew this. We knew she was rubbish. We knew that. We knew it. It was obvious. It was staring in everyone's face that she was rubbish. But other people have been rubbish. Look, the Met is going to be corrupt. You'll never stop it. The Met is going to be everything that it claims it's not. It's going to be that. It's been that since its creation in 1829. You'll never cure that. It's its own corrupt, like most forces are, but it's even stronger in the Met. The PSD, the Professional Standards Department, are the most corrupt anywhere in the country. They're just litigation limitation machines. So you're never going to get anything sorted there. And the commissioners, I've said it before about Bernard Hogan. I knew Bernard Hogan and when he was at Merseyside. I know what was going on there, and he knew what was going on there. And I know he knew what was going on and what was being covered up, but nothing was ever done. They're all corrupt. I've said this before, they're all corrupt. So she's just one that stepped down, but she's going to be as bad as the others. But what they're doing now, they're looking for they wanted a female in that role. They were desperate for a female. It's like Merseyside have now got a female chief constable. So it's like, oh, you'll do. And that's the sad thing about it, you'll do. Which to me is just a sexist pick and just end. There'll be a competent woman there that can do the job, more than competent, that can do the job, but they just say, oh, no, you'll do. Which to me seems just as sexist as say no, because you're a woman, you can't have it. They'll just say, oh, yeah, look, you've got the right body part, you'll do. Well, this is it. I think the way she has tried to shield this Conservative government from criminal prosecution makes her as corrupt as they are. It won't just be a decision. Don't forget, she gets the job, and I said this, I think it was in the last one. When the police turn around, they'll always say this, and the government will say that the police by consent. Rubbish, they don't. They'll turn around and say that they act without fear or favour. No, they don't. They do act with fear and favour towards parliamentary. The thing is, and I'll go into this very, very quickly because it can take a while to talk to explain. But if you go right back to the creation of the modern police, 1829 with Robert Peel's police bill, the reason that came about was because the army, they were having to use the army to quell. There was riots going off everywhere. There were revolutions. You had the French Revolution. You had the American Civil Wars. England was in a state, or Britain was in a state, where they were terrified we were going to go into a revolution parliament. And what was making it worse was they didn't want to keep on sending the army in there because people were turning on the army then. Now, when the army turn on its own people, it's a civil war. If the people fight back, it's a civil war. And they didn't want that to happen because what was happening in America would have been happening here, and it would have been a revolution like in France, get rid of the royals and all this. So they had to come up with something else to police the people so they wouldn't be so paranoid. Now, when Peel presented this bill to Parliament in 1829, he had an absolutely horrendous time getting it through because the ministers themselves were saying, oh, it's a parliamentary police force. We can't have that. We can't have a parliamentary police force. And they were saying also that a man's home was his castle. And the idea of arresting someone, that was like, what? Freedom, liberty. They had more of a, it's surprising enough, they had more of a sense of freedom and liberty back then than what we do. They were passionate about it, like you should be allowed to carry arms. Back then you could. You could carry arms and all this. Firearms and swords and whatever you wanted. And actually it's to tell something that seems very strange to us. When the peelers first came out, that's what they were called, peelers. Basically, they were thugs, very tall thugs that were made look taller with these big tall hats, topper hats, and thick as they come. And that's what they wanted them, like thick, stupid, so they could be controlled, and just thugs, basically. Well, a few of them were murdered by the public, these peelers, and which were the original police officers, modern police officers. And actually, the judge just let the people off that murdered them, said that it was justifiable homicide because the police were trying to take away the liberties. But that shocked some of you, hasn't it? It shocked some of you, but that's why the police came about. But the fact is, the Home Office holds the keys to the top job with the police, the Commissioner of the Met. Holding those keys and deciding who gets that job. Are you telling me that that doesn't mean that they are the parliamentary police force? And what you see now, if a minister, parliamentary minister from 1829 could get in the time machine and come to our days and see police officers walking around with firearms, tasers, being able to knock your door down and arrest you and seize your equipment, they would have been horrified. That was exactly what they were scared of and against. And that's why they kept on appeal that he had to make amendments. They didn't have, originally, all that they had was a truncheon and a lamp. They couldn't have any, there were no such thing as handcuffs, nothing like that. So what was originally meant to be has been, now it is, we can't ignore it. They are a parliamentary police force. They're doing the will of Parliament, but they like to tell you that this 1829 ideal, this Peelian ideal, that they work on public consent, load of rubbish. Do you just try turning around to a police officer when they go to arrest you and say, I don't consent, I don't consent? And people think for some reason that they can legally do that. You can't. Look, this public consent, consenting to the policing, is a myth. It's in the Peelian values. Peel didn't actually write that down. These were things he just said. And someone did, I think 7 of them, is there? Might be 9, 7, I can't think off the top of my head. So that's what's happened. But they definitely are. Now they're a parliamentary police force, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But originally, that was what Parliament didn't want, a parliamentary force. And that's why they were brought in, to quell the people and stop the people turning into a revolution. Because, as I say, if they kept on sending the army in there, it would have been declared a civil war, and it was getting very close to that. Oh, Thomas Jefferson was, yeah. But yeah, that's what it originally was. But what you've got now, as I say, if a minister from back then came in a time machine, so what we have as police now, wouldn't have had it. You'd never have had the Met Police being formed. So that's what happened. They would have seen it definitely as an affront on liberties, human liberties. Oh God, Sadie, you're not that desperate for food, are you? You're eating cat food now. Yeah, I'll have to do a video about the formation of the Met Police, but you'll never stop corruption. It's right in the roots of the Met. It goes right into the history. right into the history. So you'll never cure it, no matter what. You'll get a commissioner. There'll be how many scandals are you going to have with the Met? It's just one scandal after another, after another, after another, after another. And all that they do is learn each time how to try and keep it covered up better, more successfully. I said what happened at Merseyside when we had the one officer took her own life. She was the first female ARV or armed officer on Merseyside. Paula, or I can't remember her surname. Well, she took her own life amongst allegations of being bullied. Now, cut a long story short, suddenly they came up with this thing called the True Team in the Merseyside Police after they denied responsibility for her being bullied. Suddenly the IPCC at the time, which is the IPC, turned around and said there was a macho culture at the Merseyside Police. Now get that term, macho. What they were saying, sexist and bullying. That's what they meant by using the term macho. So the force had to admit that something was wrong on the side of the force, the way she was treated. Anyway, they had to do a big thing then, and they got Pat Gallen. Now, Pat Gallen was the top ranking black police officer in the country. Well, in the union, should I say, the top one. And I met her. I knew her at the force, didn't like her, and she knew I didn't like her, didn't trust her one bit. I knew what she was all about. Look, you don't get to the top of force like that by exposing what's going on in that force and wrong. You just don't. Black, white, Chinese, and you don't. You have to keep a lid on it. Anyway, they came out with this. She came out with this statement. Oh, bleeding hearts and violins. Poor, we can never have this happening again. We will change the rules and all this. Oh, it was a heartbreaking one. We were all sitting there. Yeah, bull. She'd be the last person you go to, Pat Gallen, to say that you were being bullied. Anyway, what happened was we saw this being, and I looked through it and said, right, I'm looking for this. Said, I'm looking at these rules here to see just how genuine this. They were setting something up so that what could happen was an officer could go and complain about bullying and to be protected. And all these systems would be put in place to protect them from being bullied or being silenced. I looked through it and it said on it, at one point, HR, human resource, have the right to block any complaint that they see as being vexatious. And I said, there it is. I said, there it is. It's a con. I said, you're going to find overnight all complaints of bullying are going to vanish off the system. Exactly what I said happened. All complaints were being blocked as being vexatious. Every complaint that was coming forward, vexatious. And I wish I could remember the cow's name that was the head of HR. She was one. Well, I remember sitting opposite. And you know what I'm like? I don't like taking off and being really. But with her, I just knew what she'd done. And what had disgusted me more than anything is her own daughter, not long before, had taken her own life. And I thought, you've just gone and got involved in this to ensure that people who are being bullied into silence or for whatever reason are going to be bullied more by the complaint being blocked and not being heard. And she was doing it, one of the ones that were blocking these complaints. And I actually put in a complaint to test it. And I said, right, I'm testing this. This is why they hated me in that force, the top people. What happened? She blocked it. So I complained about her blocking it. And she blocked that. She blocked a complaint about herself. Work that out. So what they did, they cynically took this woman, Paula, who had taken her own life, right? And came up with a thing called the True Team, which had a rule in it that meant that anyone that came forward with a complaint about bullying or anything like that, it could be blocked. from being heard. So literally, there'd be no paperwork to say they complained. And what happened overnight? Oh, there's no complaints. Before that happened, Unison and the Police Federation said that the complaints had reached, now this is frightening, reached 80%. 80% of a workforce. That is shocking. Overnight, they all vanished. Why? Because they were being blocked. And that's what you've got to be wary of, very, very wary of. That's the system you're working with when you're talking about the police. That's how it carries on. So all that they do, Cressida Dick goes, the next one that takes over from here is just going to say, now, how do we cover this up better, but make it look like we're working to stop us? They always put a rule in there. They always put a clause in there that if you look for it, that undoes all this work. And another thing they put in that true team, any senior officer, get this, any senior officer who was pulled for sexism, racism, homophobia, bullying, they could be disciplined, but they couldn't lose their rank. So you could have a supervisor, an inspector, chief inspector, whatever, assistant chief constable, the chief constable, whatever, right? You could have them, no one, and we did have, I'm going to tell you something now which will blow your mind, who had been reported known to be a bully. I don't know what this is for. Sorry, everyone, I'm in the middle. So anyway, could do that, right? They could, where was it up to? It's talking about something then, that's just taken off. Someone, I want to know that you're all listening, darlings. Well, come on, you're all listening. Tell me what I was talking about. That just took my memory away. It's, bear with me, people. I'll get me train of thought back. I was talking about that and this true team, wasn't I? Oh, yeah, the blog. So you could have someone, right? You could have someone who was known to be a supervisor that had been sexist, whatever, and they would not lose the rank, so they'd still be in that position. What message was that giving them? What message was that giving them? They were feathering their own nest, protecting their own. And actually, the person that one of the people that was in the true team that became the head of the true team was known to be a rampant bigot. Known to be a bigot. Work it out. So when they say they're actually improving things, and never fall for this, it's not just the police do this. You'll get all sorts of places do this. And they say, look, we're working to make everything safer and all this for people to come forward, for workers to speak out. Rubbish. They're not. You'll see there's a clause in there that's undoes all that, but it just looks like they're doing it. And then they turn around and say that they're doing things right. Absolutely disgusting. Let's see. Oh, the Mets are totally invincible. You'll never cure that. You won't. It would be bad. Look at Yorkshire Police. God, West Yorkshire. I mean, it's a toss-up which is the most corrupt. Well, we know the Met is the most corrupt, but you know, West Yorkshire's a mini version of it. You won't cure that. That's rank, the West Yorkshire Police. And do you think they've learned from these grooming things? It's like hell they have. Like hell they have. Tell you now, you meet, this is what I used to say, and I still say to this day. You'd meet or you talk to someone from West Yorkshire Police. And this is going back, you know, about systems, and an officer from there. You'd have to communicate with them with the force, and you'd be talking, and you'd be thinking, have I just got in a bleeding time machine here and gone back to Heartbeat Land, the 1950s? Because they wouldn't know what you were talking. You'd say, well, if you got the don't know, you don't know. And it'd be like, well, what do you have? Oh, I don't know. We don't have that. Do you know what they still don't have today? And this is absolutely shocking. If you've got to send evidence, right, within the modern world, I'm talking on a computer here, PC right here. So it's easy to transfer information. Well, you have to be very careful transferring information to a police force because you've got to do it in the right way. don't ever send anything to the police via email that could be considered, disturbing, shall I say, of children or anything like that. Never do that by email. Certainly never do it by Twitter, because you can be arrested for distributing offensive material. Because that's what you're doing. Electrically distributing offensive material. You get onto the force and say, I can tell you where to get this. Don't send it to them until they'll ask you for it. Well, what they do, they send you a form, a special form that only police forces use, and you attach it to that form, and it goes through. And also, the force has got to be careful, which has happened. It happened at Mademoiselle Police a couple of times, where a virus can get into the system and it can take the whole internet down, which, when that happens to a police force, is a serious issue when a police force's systems are taken down. So you do that. You say to West Yorkshire, right, can you send me that form so I can send your evidence through, right? What form? And say, oh, you're laughing, aren't you? The form that was supposed to send the evidence through. Oh, we don't have. Honest to God. And so you don't know whether it's just so bad because they're just so backward technology-wise and as a police force, or they just really don't give a damn about grooming or anything else, which, think. Anyway, this isn't the real Sarah Ramsey, is it? Come on. Nah, that's not the real. Sorry, that's not the real Sarah Ramsey. God, she's so far up Sarah's back, Sharon's backside. She can describe the back of her tonsils. See, incompetent. You know what? This is what I think. Incompetent will only go so far, and then it's like, is that incompetency, or is it just absolutely being totally 100% incapable of doing it and not giving a damn? And now I've met officers like that. They don't give a damn, and you think, well, what? Why the hell are you doing the job? Anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to wind this up now because I want to relax. I want to watch. I'm going to watch a film today, I think. I'm going to think I'll watch a nice little film. So that was a bit. I thought that was good today. You know what I'm thinking of doing? And Paris put this in my head the other day about doing a pop quiz, a sort of pop quiz, where you ask questions. I might try that sometime, where they have you all on and you ask questions. I ask you general knowledge and all this. So that would be a good one. Oh, thank you for that. So, I don't know what film yet. I haven't decided. I like to watch a film at the weekend I do. And just relax there, because I hardly get to watch. And me telly, I had to get it's lovely, me big telly. Didn't have television over Christmas, it broke. Just the picture wouldn't work at all. And you know what's like now, if you try to get them, it's not like getting them repaired. So I've got one. I'm paying it off monthly, but it's a bit, because also I get a nice posh one, no huge one. So I wanted a big one. And the picture quality, God, it's like how it's changed. And yet the price is much more than I paid for the original smaller one a few years ago. Just shows you how things go. So I want to see, everything seems just much better on this this new television. So I'm enjoying watching at the moment. Oh, thank you for that. So anyway, thank you for joining me, lovelies. As I say, I'll come up with this idea for pop quiz, so we can have a bit of general knowledge fun, see how that goes. But until then, thank you all. Thank you, Sharon. Until next time, bye bye, my lovelies.